Over the past couple of years, pre-washes have become increasingly more and more popular in the detailing industry. Something like Built Hamber Touchless is an absolute staple in my detailing arsenal. Pre-washes offer a more effective clean while washing your car, but importantly, a safer clean overall. Now, there are many different ways you can actually use pre-washes, traditionally like in a foam cannon, but today we're going to be checking out using it in a normal traditional sprayer as well as a foam sprayer to figure out which is most cost effective, which does the best cleaning, and which you should choose overall. Welcome back, and let's jump into it. Now, before we jump into this, I think it's important to understand where pre-washes fit into your detailing arsenal, why you would use them, and why I absolutely love them. You see, when I'm washing a car here, I am of the belief of doing a foam rinse. Foam is the safest, most effective way to actually wash your vehicle. So taking a car that is cool, dry to the touch, foaming on a nice shampoo, letting it dwell, rinsing it off. What that's meant to do is break down all the dirt, all the grime, some of the organic materials on there, so that when you go in and actually refoam it and do your contact wash, you're not just scrubbing in all of those dirt particulates. Now, traditionally for years and years, I would just use a high quality pH neutral shampoo. It would do a really good job because it's got detergents in there, some nice surfactants in there to actually break down that dirt and grime. But then you introduce a pre-wash, something like Built Hamber Touchless here, that is actually meant to break down road film, that dirt and grime, all the organic material, and the results are actually pretty impressive over something like a traditional pH neutral shampoo. I'll leave a link in the description below to a video I just did using Built Hamber Touchless next to a pH neutral shampoo, showing you how much more cleaning power you actually get out of this, which makes your washes overall a heck of a lot safer. Now, whether it's Built Hamber Touchless or another one of my favorites, Labo Cosmetica Primus 2.0, traditionally I use these in a foam cannon. It is just part of that foam rinse foam mentality that I like to have. But there's also more cost-effective ways that we're going to put to the test today to see if they're as effective at actually getting in there, cleaning out that dirt and grime before you ever even touch the car. Now, one of the issues with using this in a foam cannon, I shouldn't say issues, but one of the factors that goes into using it in a foam cannon is naturally you are using a heck of a lot more product. You see, something like Built Hamber Touchless is heavily dilutable. You can use this at a 0.5 to a 2% panel impact ratio. Now, importantly, understanding what that means is you are trying to achieve a 2% dilution once it actually hits your vehicle. When you're using a foam cannon, naturally all the water rushing through that pressure washer, blowing out the snow foam onto your vehicle, you are diluting that product down a heck of a lot more, meaning that you naturally use more product. Now, when I initially reviewed Built Hamber Touchless, a lot of you were telling me, hey, I like to use this in a normal traditional sprayer, a IK foam sprayer like this, and I still get the same exact cleaning results. Well, we're going to put that to the test today, because if you think about it, in here you are doing a 2% dilution and you are going through a heck of a lot less product. So on my EV6 today, we're going to be testing this on bugs, we're going to be testing on wheels, as well as some areas that have some dirt and grime, from some occasional rain we've had here in Colorado, and really see which is the most effective and which one you should actually be using for your car. Now, in today's test, we're going to be using Built Hamber Touchless at its quote-unquote most aggressive panel impact ratio of a 2% dilution. Now, again, as I said, you can go down to a 0.5% or anything in between. We're going to be using 2% today. Now, quickly, let's talk about how you figure out panel impact ratio in a foam cannon. This is important because it changes with everybody's setup. Changes with your pressure washer, your line, your foam cannon, the orifice in your foam cannon, everything in between. In layman's terms, the easiest way to do this, you're going to fill this up with 1,000 milliliters of water. You're going to get a normal wash bucket that is completely empty. You're going to disperse the entirety of this single canister into that water. You're then going to either weigh or measure out with graduated cylinders like this how much total volume of water you have. You're then going to divide that by your desired panel impact ratio. For me and my Kranzla pressure washer setup with the MTM foam cannon here, that requires 275 milliliters of Built Hamber Touchless. 725 milliliters of water into our 1000 milliliter foam cannon to achieve that 2% panel impact ratio. Now over here, and this is where the big change is, you are using a heck of a lot less water. So we are going to be making 2000 milliliters of total solution to be used in both of the IK sprayers here, meaning that we need 1960 milliliters of plain cool, clear water, and then we are only going to use 40 milliliters of Built Hamber Touchless here to achieve that 2% dilution. Now, I have not really played with these on the car all that much at all, and I don't really know how far it's gonna go. So you may need to make 3000 milliliters, you may need to make less, somewhere in between to do the entirety of the car. But it's pretty clear, as you can see, using 40 milliliters versus 275 milliliters in a single foam cannon. Now, I will tell you, in a foam cannon like this, you absolutely do not need to make 1000 milliliters every single time. Reality is, getting by with a total 600 milliliter solution, you should be able to do it, but inevitably you're going to use a heck of a lot less in the IK sprayers over here. We're going to start off here on the front of my EV6. Now again, keep in mind, this car is not completely filthy. Yes, I wish it was, you know, just completely nasty with all the mag chloride, salt brine, more dirt and grime, but still, we'll get a good idea of this test, which one actually works the best. So we're going to split this up into 3 sections here. This first section, we're going to be using the normal IK Pro 2. In the middle, IK Foam Pro 2. On the far side, our MTM foam cannon. Again, all with 2% dilution ratios. So first off, we're going to spray this on here. We're going to get a nice lather on the front of the car. Go a little bit extra there. We're going to try and keep this as safe and even as possible. We're then going to switch over to our Foam Pro 2. And I'm going to run over on this side, and we're going to grab our actual foam cannon. What piques my interest here is we have a very different way that this is going to help clean things off of the surface. So of course, there over on the far left, that solution is just going to sit there and break that down. In the center here on the Foam Pro 2, you can see it's a little bit more watery of a foam, which hopefully is going to help draw out all that dirt and grime, flow it off of the surface. And then lastly, we have more traditional foam on that side, which is hopefully going to sit there, hopefully break that down. Now you can leave this on a vehicle up to 4 to 5 minutes or so. You want to be very mindful of this. You don't want to let it dry on the car. So let's bring you in a little bit closer. Check this out. We got, I don't know, about halfway through that 4 to 5 minute time period now. So the side that we have just sprayed here seems to start breaking down some of that bug guts on the front end there. You can kind of see it's dripping it off a little bit, but it's not really pulling it off of the surface. And I think this is really interesting to compare between all of the three, because to me, this is going to have the least amount of working time, likely the one that is going to dry the actual quickest, especially even just comparing it over here to the Foam Pro 2 application. Now in here, you can really start to see it is actually breaking down those bug guts and pulling it off of the surface there, compared to over here is quite a bit different. Now on the foam side, this, in my personal opinion, is going to give you the longest amount of working time. Now, if you think about that, what this is actually going to do once it's sitting on there longer is actually going to help you out and sit there, cling and clean a lot better. Now, you can also play with that PIR to get you a little bit more runny pre-wash shampoo here that's going to pull a lot off. But as you can also see in here, we're still really eating up those bugs and it's starting to drip onto the ground. Again, I think the really interesting thing here was one of my last videos doing Built Hamber Touchless versus a nice traditional pH neutral shampoo. The difference on the floor, the amount of dirt and grime it pulled off, truly exceptional. And then wiping it off with a clean microfiber towel, you could see a huge difference in the amount of dirt and grime it pulled off. So I would say you can let this side sit for quite a bit longer. This one's a little bit getting to the point of, you know, we didn't perfectly spray up here, but the area we did, yeah, it's still clinging there. It's looking good. This over here is where I would start getting a little bit nervous that I need to dry this, especially if you're doing this outside. It's a little breezy. This is definitely going to dry a little bit quicker. And in my small amount of testing I've done with the IKs, this is the thing that I've felt, is that you just have way more working time on this, which naturally you would assume is actually going to help you get a cleaner finish overall. So we're going to let this sit here. We'll come back in, rinse each of these sections here. I'll get the camera all set up for you, starting over here with the IK Pro 2. We are well over 4 minutes here, so let's rinse off the IK Pro 2 side. So I'm using the 40-degree tip here at kind of the normal length I would be. You can of course get closer to really scrub out some of those bugs. Really noticing it did a good job. You can see this full area, importantly up into here, with both of the other two are going to have that. Still a few little bugs here and there. Overall though, I would say it's pretty good. Now importantly, we also have some protection on here. This is just straight Geon wet coat, nothing crazy on here. Moving to the middle now. Looking pretty darn good. I would say in this particular section, it probably got a little bit more bugs off than the other side. Again, this isn't 100% perfect test. You don't have, the same amount of bugs, same type of bugs exactly all across there. But if I were to just quickly look at this, the center here looks slightly cleaner in terms of bugs. Now let's move over to the foam cannon side. All right, try and rinse about exactly the same there. And what I'm noticing here, still a couple little bugs, not 100% perfect. That's totally okay. We're going in there trying to break all of that down. So pretty interesting test up front here. If I'm just kind of looking at this, I would personally say that the normal IK probably did the worst out of them in terms of getting as many bugs off, and then kind of slightly go up. It's a very, very small difference though, and I think it'll be a bigger difference when we get to some more dirt and grime. This was just a simple test on bugs. I'm not seeing anything though that I would tell you, you have to use a foam cannon or have to use the foam one. I personally think the foam one is kind of a cool middle ground if you don't want to use this in a pressure washer though. Now quickly on the wheels, you can see you've got quite a bit of dirt and grime. Did my best not to get water on them, but they are pretty close to the same on all sides of them. A little bit of brake dust, a little bit of dirt and grime. Overall, just, yeah, definitely needs some love, as you can see here. So what we're going to do on this particular side, use the foam cannon here. You can still see this barrel, very nice, dirty and grimy in there. On the opposite side, we are going to use the IK Pro 2 on the rear wheel, and on the front wheel, we are going to use the Foam Pro 2. Try and make this as even as possible. Want to get the full face of the wheel, the tire inside the barrel as well. Starting off here with our IK Pro 2, our normal sprayer, looking pretty good. You can still see some of those areas starting to get a little on the dry side. And again, that's my one negative with using it like this. I just feel like the foam ones don't dry out as quickly. And I also feel like they do a better job really pulling stuff off the surface. But in all, I think it's still going to do a very, very good job because you're still rinsing it. It's going in there, breaking down that dirt and grime, organic material, all the road film, all of that stuff. And you can see it's actually pulling off quite a bit there. Moving on here to the Foam Pro 2. Yep, still pulling off some of that stuff inside. You can see the barrels. It's really started to get all that dirt and grime off of there, or as much as it possibly can. The wheel face still holding quite a bit on there, but looking pretty good. Just seems like these have a little bit more working time. Again, I'll be curious to see how this ends up. Then over here on our actual foam cannon side, man, you can really start it to see, pull off all that dirt and grime, got a little on the wheel wells there. Looking really good though. Looking really, really good. So I also left this wheel back here as kind of our control so you guys can see what this looks like completely untouched. What I'm planning on doing is letting this sit that 4 to 5 minutes or until I feel is at the last maximum safety point. We'll rinse them off. We'll blow dry them with the blow car dryer. Then we'll come back, we'll inspect them and see if any of the wheels look substantially better or if they all look the same and kind of everything in between. We are for sure at that point. This is definitely starting to dry. We pushed this as long as we probably should, so let's get to rinsing. Never recommend doing this, but we're gonna take a look at this and see how it actually cleaned up the wheel. We're gonna grab this clean microfiber towel. We're gonna wipe the spoke here. We'll try and do it exactly the same. You can see not very much dirt and grime there. Let's go to the barrel, give that a wipe. Definitely a little bit more there. Not 100% perfect, but definitely pulled a heck of a lot of grime off. Fresh side now on the IK Foam Pro 2. We're gonna do the same wipe in there. Looks honestly about the same. That area is probably a little bit from the tire. Let's go inside here to the barrel. Yeah, looking honestly about the same. This one probably looks like it's got a little bit more. Again, front versus rear wheel. That's why I wanted to put one of them up here. They're honestly looking pretty darn good though on both of those. Pretty impressive cleaning power. Let's now move over to our foam cannon side. Fresh clean side now on our foamed down wheel. Looking pretty darn good there. Honestly, about the same. Give it a good wipe. Honestly, we're splitting hairs here. I'm actually pretty pleasantly surprised on the other two over there with how well they're doing. Even though I may prefer to use the foam cannon here, the results are actually showing me that they're pretty darn close. And that would make sense because we are getting that 2% panel impact ratio on there. So science does work, folks. That's pretty interesting. On the back of the EV6 here, again, we don't have a perfect distribution of dirt, but we can still get a good idea here. So I'm going to split this side up. We're actually going to foam this side. We're going to use our middle foam in the center. And then on the passenger side, we're going to use our IK Pro 2. Now I'm intentionally going to spray this on a little bit thicker this time. I want to see how this kind of dwells off of the surface. Wow, it's pretty crazy. I don't know if you guys can see that, how quickly it started pulling that dirt off there. Again, we'll give this a nice big bath of this stuff on here. And we'll let this sit. Midway through now, and this is the thing I always love about Built Hamber Touchless and other pre-washes for that. You can always just see that dirt and grime getting pulled off of the surface there. Really impressive. It's also interesting to see the difference of using the foam cannon here versus the IK. Now with the IK Foam Pro 2, you can also switch out the little fittings in there to give it either more air or more water and kind of dial it in. I've just done it how it is straight out of the box, and as you can see, it's still clinging there pretty darn good. Now moving over here, yet again, you'll start to notice a lot of these areas really starting to get dry quicker, but as you can tell back here, it's looking almost perfectly clean from not even touching it, and that is the really cool thing about this. Again, no, this car is not completely filthy. You could do it on a way filthier test, and maybe I'll do that when the car is absolutely disgusting. This is just to get a good feel and for me to actually figure out which one is best for even my detailing arsenal and give you guys some information along the way. But it is a really, really intriguing test to me. And again, as you can tell, the foamers over here, this is the thing that I like. It's really pulling it off of the surface and really getting in there, deep cleaning it. Now, when I foam these cars, I foam them pretty heavily, whereas over here, you know, I just feel like it just doesn't have that time to sit there and dwell quite as much as the foam. But it's not to say it doesn't work. I've been impressed so far compared to the other two methods. Man, you are splitting hairs if you're seeing any difference, and arguably I think it's doing exactly the same thing. It'll be interesting once we rinse this off to do our towel test on the back here and see if there's any difference in between them. Again, it's just a really, really fun test. I really enjoy making these videos. So we're gonna let this sit for a little bit longer. We'll then come in and rinse it and see how everything's looking. I would traditionally probably leave these two on slightly bit longer, but since the farthest one, the IK Pro 2, is starting to get to the point where it needs to be rinsed, we're gonna rinse this first. I'm gonna try and get in there and rinse as much as I possibly can. So you'll see me get a little bit closer. Again, remember we're at 1000 PSI, almost 2 GPM with this Kranzla, so not really worried about getting super close, but I wanna try and kind of agitate as much of that dirt and grime off so that we can get a good consistent test. Man, I just absolutely love this product. Again, the car wasn't filthy here, but man, we are looking really, really nice here. So, okay, anyways, all the sides here looking very, very good. I see zero distinct difference in between them. Again, my theory of the foam sitting there dwelling longer may not be completely true. I just, personally, that makes sense in my head, but I guess, you know, the science behind this really tells you that it's the same dilution ratio once it gets on the car. You just have some differences. Again, I really like how it's pulling it off of the car over here using the foamer. The IK foamer is definitely doing that a little bit more, kind of emulsifying things in there, but man, they all work pretty well. So let's do a fresh, clean towel test on this. We're gonna take a large swipe here on the foam side. As you can see, I mean, that's the craziness of this stuff. Let's flip this over. Let's do the foam in the middle. So impressive. Isn't that nuts? Absolutely crazy. Now I need to fold this towel. Ha, did it with one hand while filming with one hand. I know, I'm impressive, aren't I? So let's come down here. I see no difference back here, folks. It's just a really, really impressive chemical. So I definitely think if you're wanting to use this product and you know, you don't either have a pressure washer or don't want to use as much solution in there, man, using a traditional IK foam sprayer or heck, even a spray bottle, your hand's going to be absolutely exhausted by the time you get around the car. But using something like a pressurized sprayer here, of course, you don't need to just get the cheapest IK. You can always bump up to the battery powered one, make your life and your hands a little bit easier. But it is truly impressive here to see the difference of these three. And honestly, there being no real difference. So I would say, you know, from this particular test, I would not conclusively say that the foam cannon works any better than the other two ways you can actually use this product. And of course, you're going to be using a heck of a lot less of that Built Hamber touchless over here. So I think one of the cool things probably to get would be, you know, decide if you like using it in a normal spray bottle or in a foamer, and you can get a larger battery operated one of those. Man, you can use a heck of a lot of this product, go through, spray down the car, do your thing before you ever come back and rinse it. And you're going to get absolutely phenomenal results like this. It's just so impressive. Absolutely love this stuff. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this test. I really enjoyed making it for you. I thought it was interesting myself because honestly, I thought the foam cannon was going to be the best. It makes sense in my head, sitting there dwelling, it's pulling all the dirt and grime off of the surface. But as you guys can clearly see here, just spraying that solution directly out of a traditional spray bottle on here does the exact same thing, and it really, really works for a fraction of the cost. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down in the comment section below. I'll leave the products linked to the video, what we use, Built Hammer Touchless, the IK sprayers, some other sprayers that I'd probably recommend you use for this. Anyways, we'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.